Good morning. I'd like to welcome everyone to the emergency meeting of the Suwannee County Board of County Commissioners of August 26, 2021. If you please stand at this time for our invocation and a pledge led by Commissioner Fleming.
Let's pray. This morning, our Father, we come in your name. Our hearts are heavy, burdensome, but I know that you're able to make a way out of no way. I know you're too good and you're too great and you're too wise to make any mistake. But our Father, we pray that you bless the Perkins family tonight, this morning, give them strength, watch over and protect them from all hurt, harm, and dangers, and give strength, oh God, make a way out of no way. Now, Father, we pray that you bless us in our board emergency meeting this morning, give us strength, give us directions, bless all the officials, all the department heads, staff, attorney, Father, those that are in this house this morning, the building. We know that you're able to make a way out of no way, and you can make a difference. Father, we're calling on your name because your name is all I trust, and we know you got all power. It's in your hand. We ask these and all blessings. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Sir. Gentlemen, our first item of business this morning is approval of the extension of the local state of emergency dated August 13th, 2021. Have any questions or comments, or do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion by Commissioner White, second by Commissioner Fleming. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen. Item number 2 is approval to waive building permit fees for the installation of a new power service to the town of Brantford's stormwater lift station located at 504 Northwest Reynolds Street. Mr. Harris.
This is a common practice when they make a request down there that we waive the permit fees. So that's our request this morning.
Do I have any questions or comments? Do I have a motion to approve as written?
So moved.
I have a motion by Commissioner White, second by Commissioner Land. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen. This time we'll go to closing comments. Mr. Pravat, you have anything?
Before I move to closing comments, Mr. Chairman, I do have one other matter that came up last night. In the opioid litigation that's been happening, these settlements are starting to, come together for numbers. And one of them comes up with a short deadline of September 3rd to be able to say whether we want to participate in the Malink-Rot. Yeah, it's weird spelling, but it's one of the companies as part of the overall Florida settlement, and whether we wanted to participate in that. And the idea is, the answer is yes, and we still don't know what we're going to get, but as they dump in their $1 million, it becomes part of the pot. I would like to, y'all just to approve our participation in it.
It's your recommendation.
Yes, sir.
I have any questions for Mr. Pravat at this time on this issue?
Does this need a consensus or?
You want a motion?
I'd go ahead and just move to do it.
Offer motion.
I have a motion by Commissioner Fleming to follow the recommendation of Mr. Pravat on this issue.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Land. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you. I have no other matters.
Mr. Harris.
I want to make a comment. Commissioners, I think I delivered everyone's mail today. You'll notice you have at least one letter in there complaining about the solid waste issue, and the letter says that county attorney didn't do his job, county staff didn't do their job because it's illegal for waste management to purchase advanced disposal, and we should have stopped that from happening. That's essentially what the letter says. I'm going to tell you that the United States Justice Department weighed in on that acquisition. All of the antitrust laws were evaluated. Trade Commission weighed in on it. There was a massive participation by federal agencies in that regard. There was also an incredible participation by state attorney generals from, I believe it's at least half a dozen states that were impacted by that transaction. It encompassed many, many states because there were facilities located in many states. So it was very thoroughly vetted and scrutinized by lots of agencies. And there wasn't anything that we really needed to do because the appropriate federal and state agencies were handling it. But it did occur, and that's why, as I had shared with you previously, there's no competition now in that arena. So I just wanted to share that with you because I know that some of you may have been getting some calls about this issue. And that's all I had, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. Any questions from Mr. Harris
No, sir.
this time? I guess I got a little ahead of myself. Do I have any other comments or concerns from the board before we go to closing comments?
No, sir. I guess we're still having, the meeting here Tuesday. That's still the game plan. Can't change that.
According to Neighbors Giblin, because we advertised it, it has to occur here. I spoke to Mr. Scott. We've got a sound system where we'll have speakers outside. We're going to see if we can get the sheriff's department to have a deputy to help facilitate some orderly ability to get people in to speak if they want to speak. I've got a presentation I plan to make to go over the history, where we are, where we have been, what our options are going forward, what the county's attempting to do to curtail these expenses, the multiple things that we're doing. And I'm just sharing this with you. I'll go through that information, and then if we open it up to public comment, then we'll take all of the speakers. I mean, clearly, we can't fit a lot of people in here, and I would speculate that we're still interested in maintaining the social distancing to the best of our ability right now. But we will provide speakers for outside, and we'll be able to manage quite a bit of traffic. If people want to sign a list, we can get it to the chairman, and we can call them in when they want to speak, and they'll be able to hear the proceedings from outside. If the board elects to continue the meeting beyond that, you have the ability to do that, but it's going to have to happen very quickly. In the communication from Neighbors Giblin, they said the problem with that is creating confusion, because they said it's already advertised at your normal meeting place. If you decided to continue it, you would then want to try to scramble and get some type of advertising out in the community. For example, if we wanted to continue the meeting to the Coliseum at some time and date certain, you wouldn't have but a small amount of time to accomplish that. And that, again, you would need to try to advertise it, and you know how difficult that is right now. But in any event, that's about the only option you would have, would be to continue it if you wanted to continue to take additional public comment on it.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I had a few calls, and after I explained the best of my ability to the individuals that called me and talked about it, I told them that, as you said earlier, this is something that pretty much out of our control. This is something that have to happen. And the people that was at the meeting when we was at City Hall, I thought they were coming to bite our head off, and they gave us great support. I do believe if we, if they come and we explain it to them in the manner in which they were when we were at City Hall, I think that some of it understand, but you're gonna have some that understand and some ain't gonna understand, and it's just a bad situation that we're in. We had no other choice. Mm-hmm. As you said just a while ago, I got a mom that she's on fixed income. I got the same thing. I got all of my siblings. They've been asking questions. But there's nothing that you can. What can you do? Now, I would act maybe this question should be directed to the attorney. What if we did not do it? I mean, it's like a forced issue?
Well, if you don't go up on it, I mean, it's y'all's prerogative, to be able to set the rate at any rate. What I understand that you were trying to do is move into it a little bit and kind of cut the deficit.
Right.
But you don't have to do it in that fashion. It's what you propose to do.
Just add a little bit to that, and just to clarify, that meeting is September 7th at 5 PM, correct?
Right, that's correct.
I just want to clarify that for the record, number one. Number two is, as Mr. Harris has said, that meeting is advertised on that piece of paper that was mailed out. That's to allow the folks, if they have an issue and want to be heard, that's their time to be heard. We're going to do everything in our power to make sure everybody that wants to be heard has the opportunity to be heard. As Mr. Harris has said, it is tight in here, but that's what the meeting's for, is to listen to the people of Suwannee County, and we're going to do what that's what we're going to do, is listen to them. They're going to have the opportunity to come in here, and we're going to make it work. Obviously, it's small, as Mr. Harris has said, but we're going to make it work, and however long that takes is how long it takes. Those people are the ones that's feeling the impact on this, as all of us are. But we're going to get through it, and we're going to listen to the people. But as you've asked the question, Commissioner Fleming, I mean, there'll be plenty of people here. There'll be plenty of opinions. I do ask the people to come. I don't have a problem in the world, people being upset, but if you come in anger,
Yeah.
we're not going to accomplish anything, is my point. Come as the people of Suwannee County, and let's figure a way to move forward and take care of the problem that we got. Because I challenge each of you that's coming, if you got a solution that we haven't thought of, that's what I'm asking for. I'm all ears. So,
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
just
sir.
thought just hit me. I heard Mr. Harris say about rescheduling possibly at the Coliseum. Is it legal to start the meeting here and maybe have a 20, 30-minute recess and let's move?
Yes, sir, you could do that.
It's
Could do
legal,
that.
but I'm going to tell you, you talking about confusion?
Yeah, I'm
That
sure it
would-
would be. I'm sure. I was thinking the same thing because they'll be showing up here and we wouldn't be here, and then it'd be a,
That was the emphasis that neighbor Skiblin made, was the confusion associated with trying to move this thing now with no time to advertise and do what would need to be done.
yeah.
But if you left somebody here to direct them over there,
Well, that's a thought. Yeah.
I'm just trying to make it comfortable. I'm telling you, they're gonna be mad anyway. And you stand them outside at 5 o'clock in the heat, they really gonna be mad.
Or rain.
Or rain, whatever the case may be.
That's true too.
I'm just saying, if you wanna lighten your load, I think that is the prudent thing to do.
I'm at the pleasure of the board, gentlemen. Y'all are, all I am is a facilitator that sits in the middle. Y'all are the ones that make the decisions. Y'all, I mean,
The only downside to that Coliseum, and I think we all experience it, is
Echo.
auto
it's
is horrible.
it's terrible. It is terrible.
I mean, it's definitely safer for social distancing, but they wouldn't be able to hear us very well, and I don't think we could hear them very well. That's the
Well, I'm
only
just
downside.
concerned about the rain. It's rained every day,
Yeah,
or the heat, or whatever you may be.
yeah.
I'm just saying, if you can try to make them comfortable, and they can all get in and they can hear it and see it.
Now that,
You make a tell, but if you bring them in here one at a time, and I ain't got a problem, I'll be here all night if they wanna be here all night, but it's gonna take a while.
sure.
I agree with what all four of y'all have said. It's not our job to think for the people, it's our job to speak for the people. And we've all been taking the calls, but a big part of, half the calls I've gotten, and some of them have been ugly, some of them have been very understanding, but a lot of them are uninformed. And if they don't have the opportunity to hear Mr. Harris's presentation because it's raining or because their health won't allow them to stand out there for 30 minutes to hear it, a lot of them, once I've explained and gave a little bit of a history and, hey, this is what happened, this is how we got here, and yeah, we're working on it, we're trying to find another alternative, but in this short amount of time, I mean, we're gonna have to probably do business with Waste Management until we can find something different, if there is anything out there. But I think it's important that the folks have the opportunity to hear the presentation and the history to have a better understanding, because there are a lot out there that are just totally unplugged from what's going on until they got the letter.
Well, I'm just saying, if you come here at 5, you start the meeting, adjourn the meeting till 6 o'clock, move it to the Coliseum, leave a deputy here to explain that we had to move it because so many people, at least we give them the opportunity, I think.
Yeah.
I know it's confusion, and I know it's a pain in the rear end, but at the end of the day, I think it saves you a lot of grief. It's just my thought.
I mean, you're gonna have some disgruntled no matter.
No matter.
If we stay here, it's
gonna be worse.
It's gonna be bad. If we move, it's gonna be, there's gonna be some that aren't gonna be happy. I mean, that's up to you guys.
Another thought, Mr. Chairman. You know, I think the high school, what about the high school?
Like the
The
auditorium.
auditorium? I think it's better, the sound is a whole lot better than the echo at the Coliseum.
I agree with you. I think that last group, Mr. Scott, that you had that was doing the audio out there had got a handle on it, but,
Yeah.
but
That group's not all together still, but we have options.
okay.
If you remember back before we did this group, we had the meeting with the city and county, and we had maybe another meeting or so. We had a gentleman from Lake City that actually passed away, but his son is running that business now, from what I understand. So we've got options. Years ago, they did have it at the auditorium, and while I'm here, not that it matters now, but back in the late 80s or 90s, there was a push to do a regional landfill, and the voters spoke to not have that. Pressure on commissioners, that's why we're in the situation today. If we had our own back then,
Yeah.
or a partnership with some other counties back then, we'd be still in the landfill business, and it'd be a different conversation. I'm not saying this was wrong then or wrong now, but that's part of the history too.
And that's what I've been explaining to people too, is, you know, right or wrong, we had a landfill, we don't anymore. This is just the issue we're dealing with, it's what's in front of us. And most of them, I'd say 90% of the people I've talked to, once you explain it to them, they're okay with it. I mean, yeah, they're still, they ain't happy with it. Well, I ain't happy with it, but it is what it is, and at the end of the day, it's what's gotta happen, and we're looking at other options, and people, most level-headed people understand that, and I don't have a problem with it, but I just think if we don't do something with this meeting that's coming up, I think there's gonna be some real issues with that. I know I've done heard it.
Well, I wanna, Mr. Chairman, again, I wanna agree with Commissioner Land too, and what everybody's saying. If we get a great, first of all, we need to acquire that building, whatever building that will be utilized, and have a great presentation by our county administrator to where they would understand, just like at City Hall. Where the people understood, they didn't want to, but they accepted that. I do believe that if there's gonna be that, a magnitude crowd, once they hear a great presentation, they'll be more receptive. They would say, well, I understand some of it, but all of them wouldn't be for it, but at least, because one coming in at that door at the time, it might be detrimental, you know, from, I don't know what Commissioner White heard, but so I work with some people from your end of your county, and he kind of rolled on me a little bit. Y'all commissioners, well, I said, well, it's something that we had to do. He and I work together, but they're gonna bring. He said they're gonna bring a group. I don't know what kind of group, what magnitude of group, but if they all heard it at the same time, it may be a little. They could receive it more. Everybody at the same time. If we had to stay here all night to hear him, I don't have a problem with it either, Mr. Chairman. We gotta listen to the voice of the people.
Well, even after I explained it to them and explained that it was advertised to be here, they still wanted to come, no matter what. So I ain't swayed nobody against not coming, and I didn't try to. I just explained to them how it was gonna be. It's a small area, and it's gonna be impossible to put all these people in here, and they still coming. So that's about 3 out of 4 I can tell you I talked to that said, I'm still coming, so.
It's the same thing with me, Mr. Chairman. I mean, once I have the opportunity to speak to the individuals and explain it to them, 99% of them understand it. They're not happy with it, and I don't blame them. I'm not happy with it either, but most of them get level-headed once they understand it. And there was I think, a big misunderstanding as to what was mailed out, as to how it read. It kind of confused folks, but once you explain it to them, again, they calm down just a little bit. But again, I think we need to have that opportunity to let these folks come before us and us explain it and help them understand it better, and whatever and wherever we need to be to do that, I'm all in. So.
I mean, I'm listening to you gentlemen's thoughts, but I need someone to,
I guess we need to find out we also probably know the Coliseum's available, but if you guys want to explore the auditorium, I think we need to see if that's available, first of all.
What's the easiest move from here? The Coliseum or
Coliseum,
the
I think.
auditorium? We just want it to be simple.
Plenty of parking.
Have you
there.
talked to those guys and know that they could do the Coliseum? Yeah, we just had a conversation about putting some additional speakers here. The Coliseum's an entirely different setup.
Oh, yeah.
So we need to have that conversation on the sound system as well.
Can you ask him how many people we could seat in there?
There's quite a few people who can get in there.
Pardon me? The audio guy's supposed to be right for this meeting. Oh, okay. Commissioners, while we're waiting to see if he gets a response, I want to mention one other thing to you. Because you're still receiving phone calls, you need to be aware of this. Waste management clearly is not a governmental entity. So when we bid that, they responded, that was the only response that we received, because they're the only ones that have a regional landfill anywhere near here, with the exception of those that are county government-owned, New River and Osceola. And I want to mention this to you. Many years ago, Suwannee County was a part of those original counties that had conversations about combining their efforts and going to Osceola landfill. And for whatever reason at that time, and that was many years before I got here, but for whatever reason, Suwannee County elected to opt out. So the county could have been a part of that landfill. But having said all of that, if you look at the actual numbers, and I'm going to get current tipping fees there, what they're charging, if you took their charge and combined it with the transportation component of what is in our contract right now, you would still be at about the same number. So if you hear criticisms that, oh, we should have done this back then when we had an opportunity, you're going to find that the numbers are pretty darn close to the numbers that we got in that bid.
Mr. Harris, can you get, not to interrupt you real quick, but before I forget, can you get those tipping fees from those other entities on their
can.
letterhead or a chart or something, just so we can?
I hope to have them today.
Okay,
Yeah, we're expecting to have those today.
okay, good. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Well, I just wanted to point that out to you because you're still fielding phone calls right now. And when you look at the whole general area, 100 miles out in any direction, what you discover is there just aren't a lot of opportunities out there. And the numbers are the same. Now, if we stretched it out to 200 miles, your rates aren't going to be any better because you increase your transportation expense at that point. It's just waste disposal is very expensive. Even if we built a landfill ourselves right now, it would be expensive because you need a higher volume of waste in order to get economies of scale to bring your per ton cost down. So constructing one now and running the numbers, and I've spoken to engineers about that, You need to be aware of that. I've spoken to the engineers about building another landfill, not because I think this county would tolerate it, but just so that we would know. The numbers are still going to be high on a per-ton basis for disposal because it's so expensive to build a landfill.
The only advantage to that, though, is you're able to
Spread it out.
hold it out.
You have
hold
more
your expense
control.
Down longer out.
That's right. You have more control in the long.
But as I've explained to people too, I said, well, they said, well, why can't we open another landfill? I said, well, you can, but you're gonna be paying twice, because you gotta pay to haul it off right now while you construct that landfill, so that's times two.
Yeah, you'd have to borrow the money to build that thing and spread that pain over a long
Long
number of
time.
years in order to be able to stay in business
Which I'd
today.
still like to look at it. I mean, going forward, I know we're in a crunch right now, but, and this is buying time for us, but I'd still like to look at that option going forward.
If we built the landfill, or if the county construct one and build one, would it be, could other counties bring it here and we collect off of that too?
Well, that is another option, and I've talked to some of you about that option, is taking those counties that do not have a landfill today, and it's going to be your small rural counties like us, and trying to find a couple of them that might be interested in joining with us and building a regional landfill in one of the counties. Typically, your county that builds the landfill within that county receives a host fee as well, like Madison.
I got a question for you, Mr. Harris. I've never asked this question, and I just want to understand it. Our landfill that we have now, is it completely sealed off?
Yes, sir.
Is there absolutely no room, or does the law ever allow for an expansion of an existing landfill that you're maintaining closure of?
Oh, yeah, you can get a permit to do that, but if you go look at what we have, there's no space there. You'd have to start a brand-new facility down there, because if you go into where the scale house is, everything on the right is an unlined landfill, so you can't go back in there. You have to have lined facilities now. So if you look on the left, you've got this pyramid-looking thing that's real steep, and it's too close to the property lines. So you couldn't just, you would be adding on to that, but you'd have to buy land from someone in order to do that. So you really
understand
aren't
that, but-
expanding the existing one. You'd be building a brand-new facility is what you'd be doing. You'd be starting from scratch.
If you're able to buy, I feel like the avenue is easier if you're able to buy existing land though, and tie into, if you're able to buy land that's next to it and tie into an existing landfill that we maintain and spend money on closure of. You disagree with that statement?
Oh, I agree with you. That would be the thing to do, if you're going to do one, because siting a landfill is the difficulty.
That's my,
Everyone knows where that one is. All the people who live out there know where it is. So I would
I'm
agree
saying
that
even
that
if-
would be easier.
even if the folks that own, and I haven't looked at the plat map to understand that, but I'm saying even if the folks that own that land are reluctant to sell, and you have to pay a premium for the land, you're still tying into existing, and all the paperwork you're dealing with is dealing with an existing landfill
Just expand it.
and expansion in the same location. I just feel like that's worth looking at, I guess is what I'm saying.
I would agree. That would be, in my opinion, based on experience trying to site landfills in the past.
Well, I understand it's
I
gotta be
agree.
lined, but
I agree that'd be the place to look.
I just feel that that landfill's documented, DEP's all this, we deal with all this, we spend this money that you have to hold back for closure however many years out to maintain and monitor, and
Mr. Chairman, I got a question. Mr. Harris would probably know, what is the current acreage of our old landfill? And if we had to, if wanted to expand, what would it take? 100 acres, 200 acres, 50 acres?
You could do it on less, because your cells would be smaller than that. You build multiple cells over time is what you're doing. And there's a reason for that. It's because you have to have daily cover and you have to maintain your working face of the landfill. So you might do it in a 10-acre.
I guess to explain
And
a little bit
continue.
better of what I'm saying, I understand what you're saying, Mr. Harris, about as close to the property line where we've got the line part. My point being though, if there's property we can acquire, even if it's next to the side that has, where it's not lined, it's still expanding an existing landfill. Even if you build a cell that's separate, but it's on the same,
I agree.
it would be on the same
It'd be
property.
contiguous.
Correct.
It's a big advantage
No, I agree.
to have that landfill where it's at.
To answer your question, I'm looking at the maps. I mean, I'm not gonna call the folks' names, but there is a 160 acre parcel that adjoins our landfill owned by the same person. I think that.
To the west. Is
To the
that-
north.
You can't go north.
No, that's across the road.
That's the road, isn't it?
That's the road.
Well, the road's a little farther
It's
north.
to the north of the little transfer station and the scales. It'd be
Oh,
north,
okay, I see
northeast.
which place you're talking about now.
Yeah. There's a 160 acre parcel there, that only has one dwelling on it. I mean, I think we're exploring options. It's worth reaching out to that person and saying, hey, y'all entertain? I mean, if not, it's a large tract for expansion of something maybe down the road. And I'm not saying it's gonna be a landfill. I'm not saying that people wanna build a landfill. I'm not saying we wanna build a landfill, but there's a large acreage tract that adjoins us to the north.
How many acres is our piece, can you tell?
Our piece is in multiple parcels. We have a 60 acre piece. We have a 80 acre piece. We have a,
Can you tell kind of where the mountain is, size of that?
yeah, the mountain is, I mean, I'd say we probably own about 160 acres right there altogether in multiple parcels, all contiguous to each other. But there's another 160 that I was talking about to the north of kind of north of the scales, northeast of the scales, owned by one person, one family. I
Does that
don't know.
run all the way over to that other paved road to the north?
I don't think it does.
It must, because you can see through there.
When did our landfill closure happen? Do you got any
I
recollection?
don't know.
It's been a while.
It was before I got here.
This is when Jerry Sykes was here, wasn't it?
And the reason that it closed, one of the primary reasons was the cost per ton to maintain.
It was cheaper to haul it than it was to maintain the landfill.
It was cheaper to go to a regional facility
It
That-
runs.
that-
at that time.
It runs all the way to 105th Road to the east of the parcel, and then that 142nd Street actually does split that parcel, but it is, I mean, it's one parcel, but it's split by 142nd Street.
Which
That's
is the
one
paved
dwelling
road?
on
To
it.
the north,
To the north.
right.
It
Okay,
basically,
I got you.
142nd splits it into roughly 280 acre
Mm-hmm.
tracts. I mean, that's just an option. I mean, there are some parcels to the south and southeast, but they're not as large as that one, and they're owned by multiple, there's multiple parcels that are smaller, but
My point being with that is, number one, we get out of the transport of the garbage.
yeah.
Back then, when it was cheaper to haul it and dispose of it somewhere, diesel wasn't $4 a gallon and labor wasn't $15 an hour. So, I mean, that's a lot, in my opinion. Also, we have all the facilities there as far as scales, blah, 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 for,
New paved road.
New paved road.
got a road that goes to it. I mean,
I just think going forward, I mean, it's gonna take a while, no doubt.
it would be an expedited path though, going this way, in my opinion.
Yes, it will.
Yeah.
If you have an existing,
Well, I just
agree.
think you can control your costs with your own landfill. I mean,
I agree with you. I mean, it may not benefit this board a whole much because we're gonna take the blunt on the expense of building it, but as far as leaving this county in a good position for 30 years, I think is an avenue worth starting to look at going down.
I think you can get there faster than what you think though. With it being already a permitted landfill is the key.
Yeah. I
And
agree.
also, you're not selling to the public that we're going out here by your house and putting in a landfill.
That's right.
You know, I
That's the
mean,
big thing.
this is a landfill,
no
we're
doubt,
just expanding it.
that's a big advantage.
I guess my biggest point I'm making is, sure, we got an issue we got to deal with on September 7th. But at the end of the time, most of the people I've talked to, what is your vision moving forward?
What's the plan?
Right.
Yeah, that's what I get.
I mean,
How you gonna curb this going?
are you just going to tell me next year or the year after that it's just going to, you're just going to charge me more and more and more? I mean, we got a bad situation that we have to come up with an end game, and I mean, I think it starts with that landfill we got.
The question on the I guess we got an escrow for the closure of the landfill, or that we have to put money in every year. If you was, I don't know if you know the answer to this, but if we open a new landfill, because I think that fund's already funded, we don't have to put money in it anymore. But going forward, would you have to add more to cover for that landfill as well?
Yes, you would. But here's how that works. The day will come where that money will eventually be freed up. And we've already attempted that. We tried to modify that. We've tried to modify it a couple of times to get out of holding that money there, and we haven't been able to do that yet. But the day will come where we won't have to hold that money in place any longer. Having said that, every time you build a landfill, you have to start setting aside an escrow for post-closure expenses. So yes, you would be
So that money would
funding.
just move over to the next.
You'd have your construction cost, your operations, and your escrow budget each year.
You're not going to gain anything there. You're just going to move it. That's pretty much
That's
what's
right.
going to happen. Move out this pocket into that
Yeah.
pocket.
Mr. Harris, I feel like this is a fair comment. If DEP or the powers that be gave us, if we had that property and they said, here's your permit, you could do this. As long as you got the money, you could be dumping trash in a year. You got to put the equipment on the ground and get the deal done.
I don't know that we could be doing it in a year. And
I'm not saying,
listen, I'm as optimistic as anyone when it comes to pushing. Now, we push hard and we get some things done.
I
But
understand.
having said that, I'm confident that we could do it as fast as anyone could get it done. The permitting takes a long time.
You're not going to get a permit in that amount of time.
No, the permit is going to, now, I spoke to an engineer yesterday evening, 6:30. We had a long conversation about this. And it wasn't the first time I spoke to him. He was confident that we could get the permit, but he said it takes a while to get a permit. He didn't tell me how many months, but it does take a while.
Mr. Pravat, to answer your question, or for what your comment was, I said once we had the permit, the power, that,
Yeah, dirt.
and the construction end, the dirt work, you could put enough equipment on the ground, if you have the money to support that equipment being there, that hole could be dug and lined and ready to dump, is my point.
I don't disagree with that.
And,
If
because I'm not
it-
saying it's got to be the hole don't have to be half as big as Suwannee County. We might have to build one small cell to start with.
Yeah.
Get us 5 years, a place to dump for 5 years.
Probably a 10-acre cell. It'd be 10 to 15 acres probably, that cell. It does have to be lined. There's plumbing in it. I mean, today, it's a lot different than it was 30 years ago. Very doable. It is expensive, but we could self-perform the majority of that work, and it would save us time and money. So it's doable.
I mean, it's expensive, but I don't want us for this board or the public to get scared of that expense. I mean, by doing that, you knock out $27 a ton on the freight immediately, right off the top. And then you're talking about dumping.
Well, that's half your expense.
Cut it in half.
Right, I mean, you're gonna cut it in half, and then.
Now, you're going to spend some on that landfill and maintain
That's
it,
right.
but you're not going to spend $27 a ton.
That's what I'm, yeah, exactly, that's what I'm saying. And then you're 32 and some change on the first year. I mean, that number's gonna be, I don't know what it's gonna be, but it's gonna be significantly less. If you try to amortize out your capital investment recovery period, you're still gonna be below $33 a ton. I mean, I can't imagine it being,
Well, just thinking through this now, is Lafayette County, Dixie County, who's in the New River landfill? Who?
I don't remember the counties.
Well, my
now. I
question
mean,
is, if you want to try to take in other garbage other than Suwannee County to help pay for it, are they going to leave that, even though it's a shorter freight haul for those guys?
No, I
are they
think
gonna
there are
leave
other, I
that-
think there are other counties that would be interested that are not a part of
Part of that.
Wasilla or New River.
so what you're saying is there may be some other opportunities, so Suwannee County doesn't take the blunt on the construction expense altogether. We make it take in one or two. If we
Absolutely.
have enough acreage to handle the volume. I mean, honestly, I don't want to take them in if we don't have the acreage to cover I mean, I want to be able to handle Suwannee
long
County's
time.
garbage for 40
Long
years
time.
if we do this. If we take in 3 other counties and it cuts that to 15 years, well, then I'll be honest with you, I'm not,
Not interested. Well,
I'm
that's
not
kind of where
interested.
Columbia County is, I think, now. That's why they don't want
That's
to.
why
That's
they
why
don't
they
want
don't
us.
want us.
Yeah, they put the skids on when I talked to them. Because I called them. That was one of the first ones I called.
I had a couple commissioners say, no, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, they're in a good long-term position. They realize that, so why
And
take
they
us
know
on
that's
board?
just what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly.
If y'all, I'm just saying, if y'all want to get back in the driver's seat,
That's what
I mean, we're
Well, first
passenger
thing
right
we-
now. We're
first-
passenger and we're getting mistreated terribly.
Well, we need to find out if that land's even available. That'd be the
Mr.
first.
Harris, could you reach out, or
Yeah.
you or staff reach out to that specific person?
We can do that.
Or Mr. Fleming?
It would be a conflict of interest for me.
Okay,
All right.
okay.
So-
Who owns it?
Commissioner Fleming's related to everybody in the county.
Everybody in Suwannee
Yeah,
County.
but, Mr. Chairman,
Could you put in a good word for us?
that's in your district. That's in your district, and based on my family out there in that district. And I'm
No
gonna
pressure.
be zip. But, I think too, though, that
Gracious me.
some of that, property, I've been going out there 64, but I've been going out all those years. I think water holding, out where those pines was at.
Yeah, let me mention something regarding that.
Yeah.
The best location for a landfill is where you have an existing confining layer of clay. Because if it isn't existing, you're going to bring it in, because that's going to be a requirement in order to build a bathtub under that landfill and collect the leachate with your piping system. So the holding of water is not a bad thing in this case. It's a good thing.
Well, we
just
got
go-
extra clay out there at the catalyst site.
Yeah.
You got Mount Harris out there.
I've already got plans for that clay. That clay is supposed to go in the bottom of that hole down there on the south end, but that, I just wanted to say that is a good thing. Those are the types of soils that you want to look for. If they're there, if they're not there, you just mitigate and do what you have to do to bring it in.
Well, there's nothing wrong with asking a question,
No, that's good.
Mr. Privat. There's nothing wrong with, I'll make a phone call, I'll find out, because it may have changed some hands, I don't know. But I know who owned it. There were large stakeholders out there, but I'll find out.
Well, so you can get the land, I guess you have to have engineering to apply for the permit, so you'd have to put some money up for engineering the land. I'm just trying to think of the upfront cost before we even get to the landfill.
I can make a call, and I can get a lot of information today regarding that. I mean, I've had the conversations with this engineer, and I can go back and just continue the conversation because I know they're involved in one right now.
I mean,
If we're an expansion on an existing landfill, we can be in business for $3-4 million. Tell me I'm right, Mr. Harris. Tell me.
I'm afraid to comment on that. I really am. And I say that very respectfully. I'd love for us to be able to get in for that.
I'm saying an extension now. I'm not saying building a new one in a new location and having all the handling facilities. I'm saying going where we're at.
well, I'm just saying, I know y'all want to talk about this new piece of land, but is there any room to put one cell where we're at now? Just one.
I think back there where we burn, and I can't really answer it from an engineering standpoint because it takes so much room to do your collection system and everything else. I don't know if we have enough room back there. So I can't give you a qualified response to
Well,
the question right now.
I'm just thinking, to speed it up, if there is something available where we are, yeah, we need the other piece too, but I'm
You're
just
saying
thinking
give us a 10-year sale
That's right.
to get our feet under us to figure something else out.
Well, and then you got time to pay for that other piece you want to do. I just want to explore all the options, and that's the direction I would like to head. It's just like that lime rock mine we got in the south end of the county. Yeah, it's expensive to run, but you got control at that point, and to some point, you're controlling your costs for years and years out. And yeah, it's expensive to do right now, but I guarantee you, in 10 or 15 years, you're gonna be sitting there going, whew, that was the best thing we could have ever done.
Oh, I agree with that. Absolutely. I mean, if we had our own, that's really the way to go.
Joined us.
And I also agree that with Commissioner Land that you may not realize an immediate benefit, but longer term, you're absolutely going to realize that benefit.
Yeah, I mean, if it costs $5 million, That doesn't scare me. I mean,
No.
I know what we're spending right now on a yearly basis. That recovery period's pretty daggum
Well,
short.
and even if you gotta go out and finance it
Even
and
got-
spread the cost out,
That doesn't scare
you
me.
have to get creative here. I mean, you probably have to get real creative to make it all work, but it can be done. I ain't no doubt in my mind it can be done.
I think that
I don't think we need to explore it, gentlemen. I think we need to do it.
I'm with you.
I'm on board. I'm 100% on board. And I think what you said earlier, Mr. Chairman, is 100% correct. You know, our folks want to know, the calls I'm getting is, okay, you're going to sock it to me now because you're over a barrel. Well, what are you going to do to fix it? And if we don't, we need to come up, and we owe it to the people we represent to come up with a plan to fix it. And I don't mean just fix it for me and my family. I'm talking about my kids. I mean, you know, if we're going to spend some money, let's go long-term, like Mr. Harris. I mean, like, it's exactly why Columbia slammed the door in our face, because they're in the driver's seat. They're in a good position. We're sitting here at the mercy of other people, and that's never a good spot to be.
Never good.
And their numbers, let me just tell you, they are in the driver's seat over there, and they've got, you know, an excellent future. Their numbers are high. If you look at their numbers are high. I mean, this is a great idea so that we have more control, and we've got our hand on the steering wheel going forward. That doesn't mean it's going to be cheap. Will it be less? I think when you incorporate the other pieces, you cut back on the transportation expense, and then we incorporate another conversation that I plan to have when we have the hearing, source reduction. You know, we start easing our way into the recycling business. And I say that because that's the way it actually has to occur. You have to have public buy-in on that. But when you begin to reduce the amount that you're having to dispose of, that makes a difference, but it's expensive. There are big front-end expenses associated with that as well. But source reduction, reducing your transportation expense, having your own landfill, all of those things together make a long-term difference.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
with these talks that we're having today and the expense that we're looking at on coming up with a long-term solution, which I think the landfill's a great idea. There's going to be some folks in the community close to that expansion that may not like it, but what's the board think about maybe pumping the brakes on the compactors and the expense? I mean, if we're talking about spending $2-3 million to go that route, and we eliminate our transportation, what's our return on doing 14 collection sites and spending that kind of money on compactors? I mean, in my idea, I'm not saying it's not a bad idea, but it was to help combat that $27 a ton and the freight and the efficiency. Well, if we got a 2-year plan, 3-year plan to eliminate that, I don't know, I say 2, 3, because I don't know the construction period permitting processes, but let's just say 2-year term. If we pump the brakes on the compactors to eliminate that big expense, will they be necessary if that long haul goes away? I mean, it might be a way for us to generate a little bit of.
Some of the landfill.
That
Good
might be a
point.
way to pump the brakes on them and help use some of that to limit the.
Well, I wouldn't be
Yeah.
near as concerned about compacting if we're hauling to a landfill in our county.
That's-
'Cause I ain't
that's-
hauling 100 miles.
Yeah.
I think the compact and the roll-offs is absolutely the way to go moving forward. But, I mean, if you want to ask me what's closer to my heart is expanding that landfill and getting where we can dump. And then that becomes number 2. I agree with that. I think we should still get there and figure out how to get there. But can we wait a couple of years and get this other situated? Yes. It's,
Well, I think
I
you
would
still keep fine tuning, but the main thing right now is to get that landfill, so we ain't gotta pay that $27 a ton to haul it. That's gonna pay for your landfill,
I
or
agree.
most of it.
Well, we kind of took a whole other route here this morning because we know the pressure and the concern, and we're in a terrible long-term position right now, but
Well, that's where I've been wanting to go.
if we pump the brakes on the compactors, we might save a little bit of money that could help start this other project.
Mr. Chairman, I agree with everything being talked about this morning. I think Mr. White said it earlier, Commissioner White. There is gonna be an expense if we're able to purchase the land, get permitted, all that up front. But I think we can, like Mr. Harris said, we could spread that out. That impact wouldn't be so hard and so much up front around here.
Well, I think if you use the compactor money and stuff, because I don't remember what numbers on that was, but it's a good bit of money. But you could take that money to do your engineering, land purchase, whatever you gotta do there, if it's available,
Yeah.
that's what you use to get started.
Mr. Chairman, what I would suggest is that absolutely you set aside the compactor question for now. Does that need to be done? Absolutely. It has to be done. But having said that, if we had to postpone that for 3 or 4 years, we could easily postpone it. If we have to blow fences out, move things out, put a lot more of those 8-yard dumpsters out there, we just do what we have to do to buy some time. And I can tell you that number was $300,000 a year for 5 years for the modification of the sites. The other expenses were, I don't remember now.
Roll-off truck,
Probably another,
cans.
yeah, probably another 100 and something for the compactors and all, but I'm confident that if we use that money to even put toward a debt service on a loan,
Right.
and I would spread that out over a number of years if I could. You know, if we borrowed the money for 10 years or 15 years, you know, we'd have to go back out, run an RFP and get the best rates, but that money could easily help make the debt service payments. And then if you did if we were a host county and we took in 2 partners to help spread the pain a little bit, that would be helpful. And then we wouldn't be funding all of that expense ourselves. And the host county always gets a host fee. The best rate is going to be with the host county. And there are certainly economies of scale to be realized by doing that. But we don't have to do that.
Well, I'm not scared of the debt. I mean, like you said, spreading it out over whatever, 10 years, 15 years is fine. I mean, it's going to be a long-term project anyway. And I think we've got a few loans in the next year or 2 that's paid up anyway, so.
About 2
Yeah,
years.
we got some debt service coming to an end that we got 0 for.
2 years, that's right.
Don't even start. I don't want to talk about that.
Do we have
That's
enough property
something
out
to
there
show
to
for.
put compactors?
I'm sorry?
Are there enough property out there to put compactors out there?
The compactors were for the collection sites. That was the whole reason there. You know, we're at 22 to 25 dumpsters. Counties don't do dumpsters
Yeah.
for large-scale handling of waste like we're in the business of. It worked years ago, but it doesn't work now. It's not efficient. It's very expensive. The front-load garbage trucks are the most expensive trucks, so we're handling it the most expensive way it can be handled. But that's what we inherited.
Well, I mean,
And it cost money to transition. So
but we're in
longer
that
term,
business
that's what
right
we're
now, and
doing.
we got those front loader trucks, and we got all those cans sitting there. And I mean, if we just
We
have
can use
to
them
stay,
for a while.
they
Oh,
got-
absolutely.
They got a little life left in them.
Oh, it'll get us there.
We actually rebuild the bottoms of them. So we could continue doing that. We could postpone that. You do have that debt service that's going to end in a couple of years. That combined with what it would cost us, what we would save in transportation once it's up and running. We delay the compactors. All of that together, I think, would serve us well in getting into that other business.
Well, I just think that's a great long-term plan. The quicker we can get there, the better, but
We
as
need
far as
more.
this county goes, that's the best long-term plan.
Mr. Harris, I think what we need to happen here is I'm with Commissioner White. Number one, we need to see if we can get the land. Number two, if we can't get the land, if we got enough acres, I don't care what size it is, if we can build a 5 to a 7 to a 10-year sale out there on what we got right now, we need the man working on the permits for us. We need to engineer the whole. I'm saying on the site that we got. If we can't get that property,
Amen.
we need to be dumping.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think, Mr. Chairman, today, we reach out to some folks around us, see if they're interested in selling. Tomorrow, we call engineers and say, all right, we got this or we got that. Tell us what we can do and get started.
Or if we get an answer on the land today, let's go ahead and call them today.
Yeah, that too, but.
But
You know what
saying,
but
if we can't put together a purchase deal right now, and like Commissioner White said,
Go with what we
if we
got.
got 15 acres out there that we can scratch up and get us a 7-year place to dump or a 10-year place to dump, until we can,
I'm on board 100%.
Well,
Yep.
where the animal place is there, that's part of that same parcel of land, isn't it?
Right. That is correct.
Could we move it somewhere else and take that in?
Oh, I'm sure we could. I mean, that's nothing that can't be done. If it's,
Listen, we'll look at that property. I hate to make commitments on today
Yeah.
on that,
I'm
only
just-
because the regulations are so different than they were when that stuff was done. You've got to have large retention ponds, you've got to have, there's just a lot more to it.
I'm just thinking outside the box there, you know, just what if, you know, kind of scenarios.
We'll look at all of them. We'll look at all of them, see if we can fit something there. I mean,
problem
ideally,
is we gotta pull the trigger on something, though. We can't spend months trying to figure out. We
No,
got,
I don't disagree with that.
I was gonna say, you got till next meeting, the 7th, to get us this information.
I mean, that,
No
we're
pressure.
we're still going to have to deal with that issue right now anyway. I mean, it's just, it is what it is as far as that goes. But it's buying you time to get this going. Yeah, it's an expensive route to go right now, but that is the only option right now that I see, is what we got in front of us until we can get that landfill going.
Let me say this again. If today we could go into one of those groups with another county, I don't have any reason to believe that we would save anything,
No.
okay? So there isn't an option out there. There's no silver bullet out there anywhere. There isn't an option that's going to save us money today. So the faster that we could get into a landfill, the better. I think everybody recognizes that, somewhere in this county, because that's a part of the savings, is the transportation component. And we'll do everything that we can to get as many answers as we can short term. And I've already spoken to, some of you weren't in here, I've been communicating with an engineer that's involved in a landfill design right now in the permitting process and has done it many times. That's the one I was speaking to yesterday evening. So I can get information, a lot of information on that. The big question right now is the land.
I mean, we just really need to expand what we have, though, in my opinion. That's gonna save us so much time and money, having the facilities already in place, scales, handling facilities, new road.
It's set up, it's ready to
It's,
go.
it's a landfill already. The people have accepted it as a landfill.
And I do think what we're all talking about is maybe partner or have someone, a couple other counties involved. Some of the counties I've spoken to, I believe are gonna hit the same brick wall we have because they're still under an old contract.
They're going to. I
Yeah.
guarantee you they're going to.
And they're already looking and they're scared when I tell them what we just, had to go through. So I don't think we'd have a problem finding someone that wants to dump here.
Well, that transportation expense is what's really driving. I mean, that's expensive.
That's right. That's right. And I've spoken to at least one other county I called specifically. In fact, I was calling to inquire about going to their landfill, and they don't have one. And I told them, get ready, put your seatbelt on, because you're going to be shocked when you get your new numbers. And that's just the truth.
Yeah, I mean, on what our current tonnage is, we're spending right at $1 million a year just on transportation.
Yep.
You knock that out, I mean, there's your debt service right
Oh,
there,
yeah.
on a short-term note.
Wouldn't take long, would it?
All right, we're burning daylight, as the,
Yep.
I say
my
that's
daddy
a
used to
go.
say. I think Mr. Harris got some work to do, and Mr. Pravat,
Some work to do.
you got some work to do.
Yes, sir.
Listen, I know what, well, I'm not going to say it right now.
I mean, I know you guys have got a lot on you right now. I mean,
no.
I know it.
I'm not worried about that. No, we could make this happen, and there's a way to do it. I'm just not going to,
Throw it out there.
I'm not going to throw it out there right now, but there's definitely a way to get this done.
Yeah,
And I've been there before. Some
Yeah,
people don't like it,
I
but it's very,
hope we don't go that way.
it's very doable.
Yes. Closing comments, gentlemen. Commissioner White.
I'm happy. That's what I've been wanting to do the whole time, and I just think that's the only solution long-term that we got, and I'm on board.
Mr. Fleming.
I don't have one. I just want to, I mentioned to a few of the board members that everybody that know Maurice Perkins lost his wife yesterday to COVID.
To COVID.
And just pray for the family.
The gentleman that comes and sits in the back a lot of times
Yeah,
and
he
talks
lost-
to us after the meetings.
Yep.
They lost his wife to COVID yesterday.
It's horrible.
Just pray for the family.
It's a lot of it right now.
It's terrible.
Commissioner Land.
Mr. Fleming, that's terrible. When you know those arrangements, will you pass those along to Mr. Harris or somebody to disseminate to the board,
I sure will.
please, sir?
I sure will.
No, I'm, other than that news, that's humbling. I'm happy. I think landfill's a long-term fix. I mean, you know, I think every one of us want to leave this county and this board in a better position than what we found it. And that's a good long-term position, I think, to be in. So if we can make some strides to get there, I think that 20, 30 years from now, there'll be boards
Thankful that we did it.
thankful for our
Yes.
vision and to try to push forward to make it happen.
Absolutely.
That's all.
Commissioner Hale.
I just agree with everything everyone said, and it's saddened to hear that, Mr. Fleming. I appreciate you sharing that with us, let him know that we are thinking about him. And I always say this, folks, there's a ton of people in our community that are suffering not only just from COVID, but other things, and just lift them up in prayer. That's all I got.
Yeah, I'm just breaks my heart. He's a good person, his family as you ever want to meet. Just every day, get more terrible news. Just hope we can get this behind us sooner rather than later. I am grateful for the meeting we had this morning. I thought we was just going to extend a emergency order, and we got into a discussion that I think we made some headway on, and that means a lot sometimes. So that being said, just need a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
Motion coming by Commissioner Hale, second by Commissioner Land. All in favor say aye.
Aye.